Hi friends, welcome to another literacy lesson with Mrs. Camp. We're going to start today by pondering this question. How can you organize a bookshelf? If you got a new bookshelf for Christmas and you had a bunch of books you wanted to put on it, how would you go about organizing it? You could organize it by color, which is what I do in my home. You could organize it by topic, which is what I do in my classroom, like Amelia Bedelia books, Biscuit, Barbie. Maybe you'd have a section about space or the ocean. You just put them in any old order. What else can you organize in different ways? Well, I organize my shoes, and I organize my dishes, and I organize my papers. How about our writing? Can we organize our writing in different ways? Yes, and it's actually a very important thing that authors must do. So today, your learning target is I can identify the text structure an author used. Well, what is a text? A text is anything with writing and words. These are some examples of some different types of text. The magazines, paragraphs, books, letters, those are all text. So what is text structure? Well, text structure is how a text is organized. Authors have to make decisions about how they're going to organize their writing. If you would like to take notes, you can pause the video now, go grab something to take notes with, and write notes as we go along. The first thing you'd want to include in your notes is text structure. Text structure is how a text is organized. So if you want, you can pause your video and go get something to take notes with. Our brain understands things better when information is organized. Authors know this about our brain. Because they want us to understand what we read, they decide the best way to organize their writing. The way they organize their writing is called text structure. Why do I need to know this? Well, if we understand the way an author has organized a book, article, or paragraph, it will help us remember the information. Now, we have already talked about text structure. We've talked about text structure of fiction, of stories, of poems, of dramas. Does that all sound familiar to you? We've talked about how dramas are laid out by character dialogue. We've talked about how poems don't have to follow any rules. They just have stanzas and lines and lots of poetic elements. And stories have a definite beginning, middle, and end, and are written as sentences and paragraphs. Now we're going to shift our focus from stories to informational nonfiction text. And we're going to be looking at how an author organizes informational text. Here are the 5 ways that authors organize informational text: description, problem and solution, compare and contrast, cause and effect, and sequencing. These might sound familiar from 3rd grade. We're going to be going through each of them. If you're taking notes, you'll want to pause and take notes now and include this information. Text structure is how a text is organized. There are 5 text structures. They're listed right there. And why do we need to know about these text structures? Well, if we understand what text structure is and why an author might use it, it'll help us understand what we're reading better. So you probably have heard of some of these text structures, and some are probably new. We're going to begin with compare and contrast, which you probably looked at in 3rd grade. Compare and contrast is showing how things are the same and different, right? So an author might write a paragraph, maybe for a 1st or 2nd grader, or maybe kindergartner, about how oranges and apples are the same and they're different. Now, lots of times to help them pre-write or think about what they're going to write, they might use a Venn diagram, which is 2 overlapping circles. So here are things about oranges. They're tropical, thick peel. They came to Europe from India. Apples. Ooh, a little ahead of myself. They're moderate to subtropical climates. They have a thin peel, and they have they're from Turkey. And so those are the ways they're different. In the middle is what's the same. Fruit grows on trees, so they both grow on trees, they're both fruits, and they both give juice. So that's compare and contrast. If you've ever seen these books, like the Who Would Win, the author has used a compare and contrast text structure to compare and contrast 2 different animals in a fun way. If you're trying to decide if a text is compare and contrast, first of all, you should ask yourself what two things are being compared. And you should also look for these key words: similar, same, alike, both, as opposed to, in contrast, unlike, on the other hand, whereas. Those will be clues that this is a compare and contrast informational piece of text. If you're taking notes, you'll want to pause the video and create this table where you list the text structure. When should it be used? So compare and contrast should be used when comparing things, when you want to give the reader information about comparison, how things are the same and different, and then some signal words. So pause the video if you're taking notes and do that now. Let's take a look at a compare and contrast paragraph. As I'm reading through this, I want you to listen for what two things are being compared and contrasted, and I also want you to listen for those important signal words we talked about. The common cold and the flu have a lot of similar characteristics, but they are different illnesses caused by different viruses. Even though many of the symptoms, such as fever, tiredness, and a cough, are the same for a cold and the flu, symptoms of the flu are usually much worse. When someone suffers from a cold, they usually continue their daily lives, going to work or school. However, the side effects of the flu are so severe that people often stay home from work or school. Colds usually cause a runny or stuffy nose, where the flu is less likely to cause such symptoms. The flu must be diagnosed with a special test from your doctor's office. You probably figured out the cold and the flu, two diseases, are being compared and contrasted here. Did you hear any signal words? Maybe you heard similar, different, same, whereas. Those were clues that we were comparing and contrasting two things. The next text structure type we're going to talk about is sequencing, or sequential order. Sequencing describes events in order or explains the steps one must follow to do something or make something. If I'm an author and I have a job where I need to write instructions on how to do something, like maybe instructions on how to make a cake or instructions on how to put a bookshelf together, I would be using the sequencing text structure. It's also called chronological order because we're putting things in order. You can see here someone might write about the steps for making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Biographies, or books about a person's life, are usually written in sequential order. They usually start with their birth and childhood, go through their major events in their life, and it usually ends with how they died. So that's usually how biographies are written. They're written in order of things happening. When you're trying to decide if something is sequencing, you should ask, well, is something being put in order? Is order important? And then you're also looking for these signal words: first, second, third, fourth, another, then, finally, after that. If you're taking notes now, you can go ahead and add to your chart sequential order, telling things in the order they happened or should happen, and include your signal words. You can pause the video and take those notes. Here's a paragraph written in chronological, also known as sequencing. Okay, I'm going to read it, and I want you to figure out what is being sequenced here, what is the author trying to give us information about, and what signal words are used. Preparing for an exotic pet is unique. First, you must do research to find an exotic pet good for your home environment. Then, you must find someone who breeds and sells the pets you are interested in. Before you buy your pet, you'll need to gather the supplies you need, and many will be ordered online since regular pet stores don't carry exotic materials. Finally, before you bring home your pet home, find a good supply of unique food your pet will require. You probably figured out this is steps for preparing for an exotic pet. An exotic pet is like a fancy pet that people usually don't have, like maybe like a monkey or a parrot, or like a fancy parrot or something like that. You probably noticed the signal words in there telling us what we needed to do first. After that, telling us the order. Okay? The next one we're going to talk about is cause and effect. When one event causes another thing to happen, the cause is why it happens, the effect is what happens. So here we can see the cause, someone getting a shot, the effect is tears. Okay, So this is a book that is written in cause and effect text structure. And it's about the cause is rain. And then it goes on to describe how the rain affects many different animals' lives and habitats. So you're looking for these signal words when you're trying to decide if something is cause or effect. Because, since, as a result of, hence, so, to cause, due to, thereby, to have an effect on, effect, therefore, if, for this reason. Those will be some good signal words to watch out for. If you're taking notes, you're going to want to add cause and effect when something causes another thing to happen, and then our signal words there. You can pause and fill in your chart for cause and effect. Let's take a look at a cause and effect paragraph. I want you to think about what the cause is. It might be one cause or it might be many causes, and think about the effect, what happens because of those causes, and also listen for those signal words. A train, a campfire, a match, leaves, and lightning? What do all of these things have in common? They can all cause a devastating wildfire. When conditions are right for a wildfire, meaning the temperature is hot and the air is dry, it does not take much to spark a fire. A spark from a train's friction with the track or smoldering embers from a leftover campfire can quickly turn into an out-of-control fire. Piles of leaves and other natural material can become so hot they combust and start a fire. Weather can also cause fires, with 10 to 20% of all lightning strikes causing fires. And finally, humans can cause fires on accident or on purpose, with matches and other fire starters. You probably noticed that it was describing many causes of fires, right? Of wildfires. They talked about how sparks from lightning, other types of weather, from humans, different things that can cause a wildfire. Did you hear some signal words in there? Cause, causing, cause. Big hints right there. Okay, problem and solution. If the author has chosen a problem and solution text structure, the text will give us, will tell us about a problem and then give us one or more solutions, right? So if we spill a glass of milk, what are some solutions or things we can do to fix that problem? So this book is written in a problem and solution text structure. Where does the garbage go? Garbage is a problem, right? Everyone creates garbage. It's a problem for our earth. It's a problem for our environment because we want our environment to be clean. We want our homes to be clean. So what do we do with garbage? Well, this goes on to tell about the solutions for things that we can do with garbage so it's not a problem to our home or our world. So it's written in problem and solution. You're going to be looking for these keywords. Consequently, thereby, leads to, therefore, as a result of, because of, one reason for, a solution to, recommendations included. You'll notice that some of these words are the same as cause and effect. It can be tricky to tell the difference between a cause and effect text structure and a problem and solution. The difference is a cause and effect doesn't necessarily offer solutions. If it offers solutions, it's probably problem and solution. Like the one we looked at about the wildfires, it described what caused wildfires, and we know wildfires are bad, but it didn't say anything we can do to prevent wildfires or stop wildfires. So that was just cause and effect. Now, if an author goes on to describe what causes wildfires and how to solve those problems, then it's going to be problem and solution. If you are taking notes, oh, it looks like we got description got ahead here, but here's the problem and solution. Pause the video and add notes about problem and solution. Tells about a problem and gives at least one solution. Okay, let's take a look at this problem and solution text here. I want you to think about the problem that's being described and the solutions for solving that problem, and look for any key words. Aphids, insects that attach themselves to leaves and eventually kill them, pose a great danger for butterflies. Butterflies lay eggs on leaves. Therefore, if aphids are on the same leaves, the eggs will not survive. There is a solution for people who want to get rid of the aphids and protect the butterflies and plants in a way that is friendly to the environment. One solution is to release onto the plants Another solution is to remove any caterpillars and then spray the plant with a mixture of mild soap and water. So you might have caught those signal words in there: pose a great danger, therefore, there's a solution, one solution, another solution. So this is about the problem described was aphids and how they kill butterfly eggs. And the solution, they gave multiple solutions for how we can get rid of aphids on plants. So how do you think you're doing? Can you identify the text structure an author used? I think we forgot the last one, which is description. Let's go back to our chart here, okay? Description is the one that I think is the hardest, but it's also the one, if you can't figure it out, it's probably a descriptive paragraph. It describes something by giving specific facts. You're going to see lots of adjectives, lots of numbers, color words, lots of facts, right? There'll probably be a main idea sentence followed by some adjectives. So if it's none of the rest of the other ones, then it's probably descriptive. Thank you for joining me. You'll get lots of practice identifying text structure.